Hi, welcome to this video covering the newest release of FlexiSign version 24.0.0, just recently released. I've been using FlexiSign for the better part of 7 years. Started off in version 7.4.7, I think, up to 7.5. Stayed at 7.5 for quite a few years because we're using a Gerber Edge printer, and that seemed to work best for it. Got a little wonky after that. But I have been using, from 7.5 I went to version 11 Cloud, the first version that they had, what's so-called Cloud, although it was perpetual license that I had purchased. I still have the license for that, and it's still totally capable of doing most of what I needed. Fortunately, as I got newer printers, the support for that was gone, and I had to go to Cloud, which I believe I started at, well, it was just 20 something, I don't know. It's 22 was the last version I had prior to 24. Anyhow, I've got their product release notes up in my PDF file. Now you can follow along by opening up your local drive, program files, and if you have the 32-bit version, which hopefully you're not running 32-bit version, it would be under program files, SAI. So you can see there's version Suite 22, Suite 24 would be under here, the Production Suite 24 README. So you can follow along with that. I'll show you quickly the version. Here it is. We're going to start with, well, I'm going to just start with what I want to start with because this is my video. Anyhow, you may notice that my toolbar and all the tools are the legacy version, and legacy, it's like super legacy because even in version 22 they went with this what I consider horrible theme, but at least under customization they allowed you to change to the legacy. I had to eventually move to their somewhat current model version because some of the tools weren't available in the legacy. That's just me being a holdout, but I think this is clean considering the software still looks like, you know, something made by Mattel. It doesn't look like a professional grade software in my opinion, although it is, in my opinion, a very professional grade software. So these are just my preferences and my own opinions, I guess. But under Edit Preferences, they have now added this ability to change your theme. I think they've missed the mark on this. I think that they could have done a lot better, and hopefully they will massage this later on. Hopefully they'll give us some user interface that lets us actually change this better. So I believe silver is the default color for the new install, and to me, I can't stand the radius looking 1990s buttons. The color, everything about this, I just do not like. So that's why I stick with my legacy preferences. I was happy to find the legacy in here because I immediately almost threw up in my mouth when I installed this software and got, oh, this has got to be fixed. And it used to be that it was under File, Customize, Workspace, and it used to be able to have one here called Legacy, and you could choose that, and so it's gone. So now you just have these things. But the worst one of all of them, in my opinion, is the dark mode, which should be the best, or they call it dark gray. It just gets, it's like they just forgot to, they go, oh, just change the color value, and that was it. It's like these shadows are now pop-outs instead of shadows. The icons up here, the background for them, completely contrast with the background here, so not my favorite look. So, you know, to each their own. I imagine if you've never used a design software in your life, that you don't care. I happen to use Illustrator on a daily, so to me this looks very elegant. The icons are super smooth. Everything looks fleshed out. What I don't like about this environment, obviously it probably overwhelms you as much as it overwhelms me, is having all these menu panels. It's just, they're cumbersome, they get lost, it's horrible. But this is not an Illustrator review, but looking at Illustrator, oh, it looks very, very clean. Something missing here. Okay, so the next thing, if I switch it back over to the PDF here, so we just covered that, the themes. Artboard contrast. I don't know why we need this feature, to be honest. Don't really know. It does make sense if you go ahead and turn off, let's see, if you turn, where'd it go? Show borders. If you turn off show borders, it kind of makes sense that you have that. So this is a preference, obviously. It may be that you like this. Maybe you're just always dropping in somebody else's artwork, and this is just for nesting purposes, and this helps you see nests better. I can understand that. Although the fact that you can't change a shade of a preferred color, say gold, I can't change the shade of that. So I'm not really certain where that is, because this color right here is very close to the contour cut, default contour cut colors. So something to consider. I'm just going to keep it at that with the border showing. That just helps me a lot. Now, some people, I've helped a lot of people in the past, and one of the things that they don't understand is that you can set this artboard area and leave it as your default size. And so I chose 65 by 27 because I use 30-inch media with a flatbed cutter that I can cut 65 inches. So for me, with the marks and everything, with the registration marks for the optical registration, this is the ideal size. And you just set the size, and then you go to here and set as default. And that will, as long as you close flexisign, with the settings will save. And when you reopen, all your new documents will be that artboard size. Okay, moving on. So what I would really prefer, honestly, if you're watching flexisign or Scanvic AVMO, is let's make the pasteboard area. I mean, look at this. The pasteboard area is gray. It looks so clean. Let's do that. At least give us the option to change the pasteboard area. I'd really like that. You don't have to call it pasteboard. I know that's an Illustrator thing, but you're already calling this an artboard. So, all right, moving on. Let me move back to the PDF. So, full screen mode. That's a feature that they say that they've rolled out, but does not work. There's no, in this version of Flexi, it does not work. I wanted to show you that, but I don't want to show you my software ID. So, it should be somewhere over here. It's not. So F11 and F12 are the keys for getting in and out. I haven't hitting F11, hitting F12, nothing's happening. So they got some work there. I'm not sure if it's my install or what, but it doesn't work. All right, moving back to we've got a new thing called open files. Okay, this is a feature that I really, really like. This is long overdue. It's still not fully implemented correctly. But it is well on its way to being a very useful tool. If you notice down here at the bottom, these tabs now say, so if I create a new document, look at that, we've got multiple tabs. I can switch between the two tabs. Super helpful. Before doing that would be under Windows and here. You would pull this, and if there was more, so let's go Control New, Control New, it's Control New, so there's 5, let's see, one more, Control New, oops, sorry. Just had something saved in buffer. Control New. One more. New. Oh, come on. I often have at least 9 documents. Oh, wow. This is interesting. I'm learning something on the fly with you guys. Okay, there we go. More. So 12 looks like the breaking point. I must have at least that all the time because I'm always using more windows, which pops up this thing right here, which you're able to then select. It does a random order of that, so it's not always really. Yeah, it used to be. It is doing sequence. Oh, here we go. See, it's untitled 9 and 10 and 11. Like, why? I don't know that. Why? It's like the last one you touched or something. Anyway, so the feature that they're missing, which I heard that they're going to bring, is to be able to close this window. So that will be a good welcome. I'm using a shortcut to close the window now, which is not working now that why are you not closing? Interesting. Why is that not working? Control F4. Interesting. That's okay. Okay, if I don't click on the tab and just let it go, then it closes. How bizarre. Interesting. Okay. Next step, what do we have? We've got show colors swatches done. This is a feature that I don't know who asked for it and why we need it. And it doesn't work as well as you would think it should work. Well, I'm going to have to open up a document in order for this feature to be activated. It does not work on a new document. It does not work if you copy and paste an object into a document. So again, this feature just seems pointless, or it needs to be better evolved. So let me go and do one of my tests that I've got open here. I've got two colors that happen to be part of my palettes. You notice that here at the bottom left, in this blank area where my color bars are, I now show those two colors. Again, I don't really understand the thing. I mean, it is nice if you've got multiple colors, but watch, as soon as I start editing, nothing happens. It doesn't update. So I don't really know the value of this, except for if you're a job shop and people are submitting their own artwork, then you would immediately get to see the colors that are involved. Now, but I like to use the select by attribute feature under fill, and it shows all the colors involved. So, and I'm able to select those colors. Or if I prefer, say we have multiple colors and I want to change them all to that lime green, I just hotkey the select similar color, which you can select. I do it with the Alt S under hotkey under customization, or you can right mouse click select similar color, and then you can then do the eyedropper, which I've hotkeyed to Alt D, and there you go. So as far as color management and selection goes, there seems to be better processes than whatever this feature is. So I don't quite understand the need for it and who asked for it, but good for them for adding features. I wish they worked on the theme a little bit better instead. All right. Moving on. Okay, so what do we have? We've got see hidden tools from. Okay, so this is a feature again that I don't know who asked for. I think they're trying to emulate the Illustrator. If I go to Illustrator, this 3 buttons down here pops out the tools, which does effectively what you want. And for honestly, when I upgraded to the latest version of Illustrator, it kind of defaulted to some weird things where I'm missing tools and totally forgot about this feature. So I kind of rediscovered it. It's cool, not a big deal. I prefer just hanging my mouse over the tool and expanding. But in order for us to see how this works, I'm going to go ahead and just pull out, say, the select tool here. So now I'll throw that down here. And as you see, down in the bottom left-hand corner, there's now 5 dots and a little double arrow. So you can click on this, but guess what? You can't see it. Now, I don't know if this is because I have a large or wide monitor, or if it's because I have multiple monitors. I currently have 4 monitors on this workstation, one for production manager, one for email, and one for a task manager. Anyhow, it may be that's my setup and your experience will be different, but for me, it doesn't work. I see it on my monitor, my 3rd monitor to the left of me. It does show select tool, select within. But if I move this over and then do it, now you can see it. So you can see it's justified to the left instead of, or it's justified to the right because it's popping out to the left. So that needs to be fixed. Again, I don't understand the need for that. I'm not sure who asked for it. So moving on. We've got new contour swatch colors and white and clear. Interesting. Okay. So they already had in previous versions. I have the old 22, what do you call it, default color bar that I'm using because I have so many custom colors I opted not to use the default color bar for 24, so I'm not seeing those colors right now, but regardless, it's not important to me. The contour cut is something I've always been able to just change the stroke color on and attribute the value of that within the rip. You can, of course, at any time make your own cut contour. It has to be spelled exactly that, capital C-U-T, capital C-O-U-N-T-O-R, whatever the hell it is, contour, and then perf cut also. So you could do those on your own. You could have created those on your own. So they've kind of just shortcutted and made different colors. Their previous version of multi-cut contour cuts were shades of gray, which are down here. There's cut contour 1, 2, 3, etc. They're so similar in color you couldn't really distinguish, but in the production manager, of course, it lists them under driver options, so you can change your values right there for that. Or if you're using, say, VersaWorks, you're still able to take a contour cut and change the value of it based on color. So not 100% sure why we need that. Moving on. We've got keyboard shortcuts for mask and unmask. I'm going to quickly just skip over this one. That's silly. You've always could make shortcuts for it. Why they didn't have one in the beginning is mind-boggling. That should have been something available from day one. The fact that you had to go through it was silly. So good for them for recognizing that. There's a whole lot of more shortcuts that need to be implemented as default for Flexi. I don't know why they don't, because this is a production software, and in order to be productive and efficient, you need shortcuts. I'm a strong believer in shortcuts, and I highly recommend that you go through and make your own shortcuts. At one point, maybe I'll release my shortcuts. I prefer to use the Alt key so that I can free up the Control key for other like baked in ones. So for all my custom ones, I typically use the Alt key as the precursor for whatever feature I'm going to do. So for me, mask is Alt M and Alt U for mask and unmask, and then Alt Shift U for unmask all. I don't usually typically use unmask all in any instance, so it gets really messy, and sometimes when you've got multiple masks, and it gets confusing. Okay, moving on. New templates added. That's something I don't use, so if you're using templates, good for you. I find it a little silly, but it is nice that there are some templates. I do use the SAI elements in a lot of cases. I do a lot of vehicle wraps, so those are not something that I use for pulling in, although I may play around with that feature and see what value I may find out of it. As of now, I don't know. Okay, here's something that is really, it says this is a big one, and it is a big one. It's a super big one because possibly like you and others, I use both Production Manager to run my equipment, and I use third-party RIP such as VersaWorks. I've used Onyx and VersaWorks, and currently we're running VersaWorks because the output is better than whatever I can mess around with on the Production Manager. I have yet to match the quality of print out of flexisign Production Manager versus VersaWorks, so I use VersaWorks, and thankfully, because they have this push to VersaWorks RIP, so if I wanted to push it to there, it's super convenient. I've even shortcut that, because Control H is to send to Production Manager. I just Control Shift H to send to VersaWorks. So super like the same flow process. You really don't, and then because they have this, if you have a contour cut, so let's add a contour cut real quick. Let's go here, and then you can add the contour cut marks, and then you can send it to your Production Manager for your cut. So it's kind of the same flow. You're still sending from FlexiSign to your equipment, which is the best part about FlexiSign. So you're not having to go to File Open or Import or any of that stuff. So kudos to Flexi for making it super easy for production output. Love it. But moving on, I just showed all this with I totally forgot to flip over to back to Flexi. I apologize. I will have to re-show you, but anyhow, this I'm sending Control Shift H sends to VersaWorks, Control H sends to Production Manager. So the workflow is fine, but anyhow, let me deselect this attributes. Get rid of the contour cut. I'm gonna make, say, a banner. All right, this is what the finishing thing in flexisign Production Manager is pretty awesome. I never understood why it had to be done only in Production Manager. You couldn't even do it through rip and print. So that baffled me. But the fact is, you send a banner to the Production Manager, have it hold. You go into Production Manager, open it up, and then you can use your finishing tools, which is super, super helpful when you're doing banners. Or if you're doing canvas prints where you want it to wrap around the edge, it's very, very useful. So the fact that they've implemented finishing tools into Flexi design is amazing, except it doesn't work. So they haven't finished Flexi. Let's just say that. So it should be under effects, and it should be right below finisher. So let me toggle back to the PDF, and let me zoom in on this so you can see. Oops, got to make sure I'm on the right. If you notice, it's showing right below finishing tools, and it shows grommet folds and bleeds. Amazing. I was so excited to read that and so disappointed to find out it's not available. And don't know why. I'm sure there's going to be some patch updates shortly that will implement that tool, but for now it doesn't work. It's kind of broken, just like the show more tools, and there's another tool as we move on that you're going to find out that doesn't exist as well, that's in their documentation. So let's move on. Let me zoom back to, oops, let's go back to, all right, moving on. Change third-party rip. Okay, so there are changes. I noticed immediately that there were some changes in the push to VersaWorks. We're not going to go over that, specific to your rip environment. Job estimate dialog. Now, I'm not one to, I've tried using this many years ago. It was so confusing. It was just not worth the effort. You had to punch in so many variables. I suppose if you're doing, you know, hundreds of jobs a day, and you need to run estimates quickly, and you've got this all figured out, it's cool. There's too many moving parts in my mind to lean on it accurately. If you do, then awesome, good for you. Be a power user. I'm not one of those guys. All right, improved export or import export. Now this is a cool feature. I definitely appreciate it, specifically the scale percentage when you're doing a PDF, because oftentimes when I'm using the vehicle wraps at 100% scale, which for Illustrator guys, that's just like, oh, that we don't do that. We work in 10th scale. You're able to size down to 10th scale or 20th scale, whatever you prefer. 10th scale, obviously easy for math, and the people, if you're going to send it to somebody who's got a rip or who's going to print it, they love 10%. Very cool feature, because PDF is limited to a certain width and height. So you can easily exceed the width and height with a panel as you're doing a large vehicle wrap. So this, being able to switch it to 100% down to 10% or whatever scale you want, is awesome. The ability to change the color space is very cool, although not something I normally would do or need, but it is cool. Because everything I do, I produce inside my facility, so I'm used to the output as it is. The downsampling bitmap is kind of cool. Add the margin. I don't know why you need to do that, but I'm sure there's a reason. Okay, so moving on. Okay, this is a silly tool. Again, I don't know who asked for this, the delete selected tool. Yeah, that's silly. A very silly feature. I don't know why they put the development time. I don't know who asked for that, but honestly, here, let me just throw an object in here and fuse it together. So now I've got a tool with an object within, and if I want to, let's actually add another object just for the heck of it. All right, so we've got these objects inside. You want to just delete those. The hardest thing to do, not hard at all. It's gonna, and by the way, this tool features doesn't exist the way they show it. Let me go back to the PDF. You notice that there is a trash can select tool. Well, that select tool does not exist currently. So here we've got the two normal ones, select within and select. So choose to select within, and I've created a shortcut for that, which is Alt-A to kind of mimic the Illustrator environment. So there it is, it's selected, and I want to delete it. Just hit the delete key. So I don't know if there's a shortage of delete keys on keyboards lately, but for whatever reason, Flexi decided that that's a feature that people wanted. So I want to select multiple. So here's the thing. Let's say you have multiple objects, right, that are within. You can do the select within tool. Just hold the delete key down while you select the part. Boom, 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 boom. Essentially the same exact thing. So I don't know, maybe there's a bunch of one-handed bandits out there. I don't know why we have that feature, and I certainly didn't ask for it. Okay, moving on. Rasterize in CMYK. Okay, that's silly that this didn't exist earlier. So yeah, this should have existed a long time ago. I will complain though that their rasterization tool is awful. It has no anti-aliasing, and so you have to often rasterize an image at 600 dpi or scale the thing up, then rasterize it in order to get a clean looking rastered image. So cool for them for adding CMYK. That's very cool, but we need to do better on the adding anti-aliasing or some sort of compression that enables you to have a clean looking rasterized image. It just seems pointless to go from a nice clean vector down to a crappy looking jaggedy raster. Moving on. Custom weed paths. Now I'm going to guarantee this thing probably doesn't exist. I don't know. It doesn't even say what it's doing. Did I miss the feature? I don't know. They just threw that in there. I will switch back to Flexi and let's see what that means. I have no idea what that is. Just text app. Custom. All right. Make it black. Scale it up. Let's go to wireframe just to kind of emulate what they've got going on here. And then weed paths. Is that under effects? Oh, it's under tool or right mouse click. Weld. Align. Maybe I need multiples. Let's see. Maybe I need to call it a cut path. See, when you do cut and plot, you don't need a contour cut. Where was it? Overprint. So it's somewhere between under overprint and it doesn't exist. So let's make it a contour cut. So to arrange contour cut, oh, because it's text. So let me turn it into a compound first. Actually, let's do the same thing over here. Make that a compound. And let's see, right mouse click. It was under overprint. Nope. So let's go to contour cut. Make contour cut. Now let's try that again. Not there. So that's a feature that doesn't exist, and I honestly don't understand the illustration. And it looks as though they are using a text without converting it to a object or outline. Don't see it. And what I think is custom weed. So custom weed path. What would that actually mean? I don't understand. So when I typically do a job, if I don't use the cut and plot feature, which I normally do, you can add a weed box, so a weed border, and you can add horizontal lines or vertical lines to it if you want between the spacing. Of course, it's too tight here to add that, but you can do split. I don't ever use this feature because I find it gets cumbersome. But I do use a weed box, and if I don't have a weed, so let's say this document has some interesting things where it doesn't allow you to put a, like you want to cut between here, it doesn't allow you because they're overlapping, meaning that if I draw a line right here, that they're intersecting, so I can't get a horizontal line in that tool. I would come in and draw a custom cut path, and then of course have a boundary box for my weed box, and then just make those something like that. So I just make sure it's not intersecting, and there it is. So I don't know if that's what they're trying to do. Don't know. We'll have to get back to that later when they come out with the feature. Okay, moving on. Job info dialog. I don't use this, but that's pretty cool. I do like the next feature that they say, which is show warning before job printed or cut. I imagine that's only going to happen when you're sending it to production manager. So for my case, that I use 90% of my printing through VersaWorks, I probably am not going to see that. But this would be cool. It's something like, make sure tools set to cut, kiss cut or whatever, or some warning. I like that. I like that a lot. All right, moving on. Production manager enhancements. Cut contour preview. Now that seems silly that even has to be considered. I mean, they've been doing production rip for like at least 30 years, right? Because I think that's when they started flexisign. The fact that this just now exists is very, very silly. But good for them for finally catching up. And if you don't know what that means, it just means that you get to see the cut contour on its own without the artwork involved. Why was that not a feature beforehand? Yeah, so if you look here, you see how it shows. Now, most softwares show it as like dancing, a dancing path, or an animated dashed path. Now, hopefully someday they're going to allow you to select the cut contour and deselect it for cut, which is something Onyx has been doing for the last 20-something years. You can't do it in VersaWorks as far as I can tell. But if you could be able to deselect a cut contour, because there's often times where I use a flatbed cutter, which is not vacuum held, but even if it was vacuum held, and let's say that the knife got a little funky, you picked up the artwork or the job and try to walk off with it, well, that you have to go back in and you want to cut the rest of the job, and if it's aired out, or it gave you an access warning or something like that, you're gonna have to go either scrap the job, or you pick the job back up and delete all the contour cuts that you don't want printed or cut because they've already cut, and then resend the job. So it'd be awesome if now that they have this show your contour cut, why not just add it so you can deselect? Okay, full screen preview in production manager, I don't care. You may care, I don't care. Production manager has always been horrible in its previews. Better nesting, that's cool. Have not tried that yet because I use VersaWorks for most of my print nesting. Let's see what else we have. Show file name on mouse over. I guess that's cool. I like anything that gives you more information. Improve labels and marks. Now that would be awesome. That I'm gonna have to play with. I definitely have not liked the labels. They're usually way too long and more information than you need, when really all you want is the file name, and instead it gives you the whole file path, which it probably still does. Add logo, that's pretty cool. What do we got here? Oh, I see. Is it adding the logo actually on the print? That's interesting. I guess that's cool if you're doing, if you're going to be doing work that requires a watermark or logo on it, and you're filming a photographer and you're setting up for an event and you're printing on site or whatever, and you don't want to have to open up a design software. Although that big white block that they show there is pretty lame. I might have to do a transparent. I don't know if it does transparent logos or not. What do we got here? Match image size in sandwich jobs. This, I have no idea what this means. If you want to create layered job from files that are not identical in size, and after assigning white and color layers, dialog box for adjusting layer size will be shown. You can size it. What? I guess I don't know what a sandwich job is. Someone else might use this feature. I certainly don't. Never heard of it. Smooth edge transparency and preview. Again, this is in production manager. It looks like job properties in the job. Don't really know what that's for. The above is normal transparency. The next image is the same transparent with the smooth switch activated. Interesting. Cool, I guess. In addition, you can now preview the transparency mask, allowing the user to preview where white will be applied while using transparency mask. Okay. I guess that's for people who have white printers. Transparency by object boundary. From time to time, there is a need to separate 255 white and an image. The option can help transparency. Interesting. I don't really know it. I guess this is for people that print with unclear with a white. Send full canvas. Send full canvas option is useful for flatbed printers. When it's set, the final job size will be the full media sheet with absolute coordinates. Don't know. Yeah, it's already really low previews, so I don't know why that's an option. Show update. Now that's kind of cool. Let's just hope it's not as stupid as VersaWorks where it breaks the system. See, that's the thing that should be built into Connect, if it's not already. Interesting. If you have a printer, so there's some cool things that the average person probably doesn't use. Well, you can read the rest of these things. This is pretty typical jargon that comes in. You can see there's just pages and pages of this. These are all look like available printers and cutters, hardware. So one of the best things about FlexiSign is the fact that it does support all of these devices. Very, very cool. A lot of work put into that, I'm sure. It's probably endless. There's probably, their biggest department is probably this. So very cool on them. Well, that wraps it up. Let me switch back to Flexi. There are some things that still don't work. Of course, we have the color, show color thing doesn't work. Now you saw me set up these tools, or maybe you didn't see me set these up, but I guess I'm going to sacrifice my sanity for one more time for the video's sake. And that is under this is a feature that I wouldn't say a feature, but a bug that has existed since the dawn of time, and they resolved it in the version 22 and then lost the resolve in version 24. And that has to do with these tools, these stationary or static tools. They will disappear when you do something as simple as creating a shortcut. So for the sake of video, go to File, Workspace, Customize, and then let's say I Connect. I'm going to create a shortcut for Connect. I'm not sure why I want one, but let's go with Alt-P. And then I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And it's going to ask me if I want to change the workspace. I said yes. Now watch what happens. Just hold your there you go. All of the static toolbars have disappeared. So I will, and I can't do anything at this point. I can't add them anymore because the ability to add them is gone because there's no box for me to right mouse click on. So I have to close FlexiSign. Just close Windows here. I don't want to save anything. And then reopen it. I can't believe I just double clicked on the taskbar. Oh, by the way, this is awful. Design team. This looks like Crossy Roads. The previous version looks so much cleaner. I don't know. Did you hire an intern for this who's 12? This is awful. Awful. I mean, it's descriptive, but it looks awful. Okay, so now we're back to here. So we have one static toolbar still available, plus our default static toolbars on the left. Now I have to start all over again and add all these toolbars, which get jumbled up until, see, you used to be able to just float over it and it would go to the next row, but I got to keep adding until I run out of space. Let's see, I like path edit. Now I should be able to move these around. I think I got to go like, there we go. Put this here, put this here. And it's annoying to do this. It's not a big deal breaker, but it's annoying. I prefer it to not jack up all the static toolbars. And I'm missing distribute. Oh, okay. That's annoying, that the fact that it just automatically throws it over here. That used to be not an issue. I can say that with confidence because I don't ever remember having to deal with this toolbar stuff just jacking around like it does. So there's some programming glitches that have happened. Yeah, luckily that should be all the ones I normally use. I don't see any more that I would add. Other than the fact that the skin, I can't stand the way that this looks. It looks different. I don't like the white headers. I wish I could change that. I wish I could make a true dark mode. I wish that I could make the pasteboard area dark. I wish that the icons that they chose for the other themes didn't have this silly 1990s web button look. Otherwise, aside from all my complaining, the fact that this right here, all the tools, these floating tool menus are dynamic, meaning that whatever tool you're working on, oh man, this bothers me. How did that default like that? All the years that Flexi's been alive, the select tool has always been in the top left corner. Why would I want the zoom tool to be up there? Anyhow, the fact that it just changes no matter what you're working on. I mean, come on. That is incredible. Look at it. It just works so beautifully. Why do we as designers get forced to deal with all of this crap? Oh, mind you, it's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. I think Illustrator has had their thumb on the pulse and keep modifying their software to just look high class. And so kudos to them, but they could take a page from flexisign, because look at all this crap. I mean, it's not crap, it's so powerful. And this Illustrator it's a Swiss Army knife of design. It just does so many things, but it doesn't do production art as fluid as this right here. I mean, to do something like this and be able to you try this doing it in Illustrator, impossible. You cannot do it in Illustrator, where I've stacked a font with a contour cut with an outline, and I could probably add a drop shadow too, and there's nothing that you could compare to when it comes to this versus Illustrator. This is true production artwork, or true production software. So I know it sounds like I was crapping on Flexi the whole time, but yeah, no, I'll still rock this daily to do actual production work. So thank you for watching, and I hope I've helped you. If not, you can leave comments and complain, and I probably won't read them. Take care, guys.